NBC Sports presents the 1985 World Series from Busch Stadium in St. Louis. Game 4, the Kansas City Royals and the St. Louis Cardinals. Last night, the Royals broke a scoreless tie with 2 in the 4th. Lonnie Smith driving both in with his double to right. Then in the 5th inning, with George Brett on base, Frank White with his booming home run off Joaquin Andujar to make it 4-0. The other big factor, Brett Saberhagen, who went all the way as the Royals won the game 6-1. So in the series, the Cardinals lead 2-1. And hi again, everyone. I'm Al Michaels. Welcome to Game 4 at Busch Stadium. The Kansas City Royals trying to make history. As I think most of you know, no team ever lost the first 2 games at home, came back to win the series. But tonight they're just 1 game away from ensuring a return to Kansas City for a 6th game. I don't have to tell you how vitally important it was for the Royals to win last night. They did 6-1. A key man was Frank White with 3 RBIs. I asked him to reflect on the victory.
Well, based on the game that we lost Sunday night, the emotion had to be weighed down. Our spirits had to be weighed down. But having the off day to recoup from that and coming back into last night's game, we felt with us not scoring runs, but getting men on base, we needed just a 1 big hit to really get us going. And last night, early in the ball game, we felt that the same trend was happening to us that had happened to us in the first 2 ball games, and Lonnie Smith came in with the big base hit, and after that it seems like that elephant was off your shoulders, and everyone in the lineup started hitting, and we got 2 hits out of Buddy Biancalana, which is a big plus for us. We got a well-bunted ball from our pitcher Saberhagen, and based on everything that happened last night, coming out tonight against Tudor, the guys in the locker room right now are really excited about the game tonight. We feel like we're going to even the series tonight and get the series back to KC, where our fans can help us out and hopefully win the World Series.
Well, White is confident. They're confident. Reggie Jackson told us before Game 1 he thought Frank White might turn out to be one of the heroes, and he certainly was last night. The Royals are confident. What do you think of their chances right now?
Well, there's a lot of baseball to be played out. You know, before the World Series started, Dick Hauser told us that the Kansas City Royals have 4 outstanding pitchers. They certainly have showed us that by what they have done to the St. Louis Cardinals offense. The Cardinals, who led the National League in offense this year, with leading the league in the batting average and also in the runs scored, have been held to a batting average of 198 in this World Series and have only come up with 18 base hits. On the other hand, the Kansas City Royals, who were second to last this year in batting average at 252, have come up with 28 base hits and have outperformed the St. Louis Cardinals offensively, although, you know, they're trailing at 1 game to 2. The Royals have to continue to play like they did last night. They need to come up with October performances, Mr. October performances, from guys like Brett, guys like Frank White, and of course what Brett Saberhagen did. They've got to ask the same thing of Bud Black tonight.
All right, Reggie, not often does somebody get a second pick, but I'll remind everybody that on opening night you said Kansas City in 7. What do you think right now? Will you stick with that?
They've got a tremendous task in front of them tonight. They've got to go against John Tudor, 21-8, a man with 10 shutouts, an earned run average of under 2 for the season, and a guy that has won 21 of his last 22 decisions, Al. You know, my favorite cliche, one of them is about as American as baseball is, and that's you never know. 4 days ago, Kansas City Royals were 2-1 underdogs. If they win this ball game tonight, I think they arguably could be a favorite.
And that will ensure, as I say, a return to Kansas City for at least a 6th game. Game 5 is scheduled here tomorrow night at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. And in the 4th game tonight, Bud Black faces John Tudor. We'll be back in a moment. Earlier, they said a threat of rain, but it's dry, and they don't expect rain until after midnight. So the conditions are good, as right now we get set to join the PA announcer, John Hewlett.
Army National Guard. And now, to honor America, baseball is proud to present an outstanding singer, winner of a Tony Award on Broadway and a Grammy Award on records. Here to sing our national anthem, please welcome Miss Jennifer Holliday.
Oh, say, can you what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watch was so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner wave o'er the land of
And with that stirring rendition of the national anthem by Jennifer Holliday, the crowd settles in for Game 4. Busch Stadium, St. Louis, Missouri. It's a gorgeous evening and it's dry. Temperature 70 degrees and we are set for Game 4. A vitally important game. In fact, I think the team that wins tonight's game is going to win the World Series based on this theory. If the Cardinals win, naturally they'll be in the driver's seat. They'll need to win only one of three, and they'll still have John Tudor available in Game 7. On the other hand, if Kansas City wins, they then will have the home field advantage, having to win 2 out of 3. They'll only have to face Tudor one more time, and I think the rest of their starting pitcher is better. Let me bring in Jim Palmer, and let's talk about the Kansas City starting pitcher tonight, left-hander Bud Black, and the pressure on his shoulders.
Well, you know, I go back to 1966. I was pitching in my first World Series. I was 20 years of age. And I saw a guy named Mo Drabowski the day before. I was pitching the second game, strike out 11 of the Dodgers with high fastballs. And I got the impression that they couldn't hit high fastballs. Bud Black has had a chance to watch 3 of his teammates do a pretty good job of pitching. Now, of course, the key to Bud Black is basically throwing strikes. He was 10 and 15 this year after winning 17 games, but pitched very well as of late. I think the big, and if you go back and look at Kansas City, if they come on and win, and what they've reduced this World Series is to 4 out of 5 last night. Now it's down to 3 of 4. You go back to the double by Lonnie Smith last night. A key double. You stand around, you watch your teammates get Andahar in trouble for 3 innings, but you don't have any runs on the board, and all of a sudden, that key double with 2 outs, 3-2 count, kind of ignites the whole ball club. And I think that's going to key. If they go on to win, that's going to be the pivotal thing as far as I'm concerned.
Very, very confident team. And as I turn now to Tim McCarver, so much was made about the paucity of offense early on for Kansas City and how St. Louis could score so many runs. All of a sudden, the Cardinals can't score.
Well, the reason they can't score, Al, is because all they're doing is averaging over 6 hits a ball game. In the first 3 games, as a matter of fact, they have 19 hits to Kansas City's 28. Now, you can approach it that way and say, well, Kansas City has out-hit the Cardinals. But I think the Cardinals are approaching it saying that they've won 2 out of 3 from Kansas City, and they haven't been swinging the bats the way they're capable of swinging them. I think the big story tonight, however, is going to be John Tudor. And what is all this stuff about 3 days rest? Because after all, 10 years ago, 3 days rest for a pitcher and a 4-man pitching staff was the accepted thing. Well, not so anymore. However, John Tudor this year with 3 days rest is 6-0, an ERA under 1. And for a pitcher of that style, a guy who moves the ball in and out and changes speeds, I think if he's too strong, he's not going to be as effective. And I think that was brought about in Game 1 when he had 5 days rest. And even though he only gave up 1 run in 6 2/3, he was not the John Tudor that the Cardinals have seen all year.
So it's Tudor going against Black in this one, 2 left-handers as we get set for Game 4. Right now, let's rejoin again the PA announcer, John Hewlett.
That Jackie Robinson had signed his first contract in organized baseball in the Dodger organization. Baseball is proud to have with us tonight to throw out the first pitch Mrs. Rachel Robinson, Jackie's widow, who is chairperson and president of the Jackie Robinson Foundation. The foundation is promoting the celebration of this 40th anniversary and is active in providing financial assistance to students attending colleges throughout the United States. Please welcome Mrs. Jackie Robinson.
We'll return to ABC's exclusive presentation of the World Series after this message and a word from our local stations. Here's the lineup now for Kansas City. As usual, Lonnie Smith with that big double last night, the leadoff batter. And then Willie Wilson, who's 5 for 13 in the series. George Brett got aboard 5 times last night. Frank White, the big gun offensively, hitting 4th. Jim Sundberg is hitting in the 5 spot. Then the platooning right fielder is Darryl Motley against the left-hander. Steve Balboni hit 7th. Buddy Biancalana had a good night last night with a couple of hits, hitting 8th. And the pitcher is Bud Black. There is John Tudor, born in Schenectady, New York, but a New Englander, now living in the Boston area. And he, of course, a great year, but Dwight Gooden will win the Cy Young Award, and I asked Tudor if he's disappointed by it.
He's had a great year. He deserves to win the award. You know, he's ahead of me in every category, so a lot of people say, you know, well, you might have a chance, but I don't see how you can have a chance when the man led the league in every category there is just about, and I was second, so justifiable he should win the award, and whether I'm second or not will be a whole different story.
Good chance he'll be second. It's funny to have a year like that, a tremendous season, and that's a Cy Young winning season 90% of the time, but not in 1985. There's the defense for the Cardinals. Landrum, McGee, and Cedeno in the outfield with Pendleton, Smith, Herr, and Clark in the infield. Nieto is back of the plate as they want to get the right-hand bat in the lineup, and Tudor is the pitcher. And Ozzie Smith, who saves this for special occasions, and I'd say the 4th game of the World Series at home would rank as a special occasion with that flip. The stands are packed, and I talked to Ozzie Smith, who told us about what's become a famous flip in St. Louis.
Well, it started in 1978, my rookie year. We were in spring training. Gene Tennis was with the Padres at the time, and we were out goofing around one day, and I did a cartwheel and flip for him. So his girls were in school, and his wife were into gymnastics and everything. So he told me that one day to come out and show them how I could do the flip. So the season wore on, and I was never able to do it for him. So sure enough, the last day of the season, he said, now would be a great time to do it. Do it on your way out on the field. So from that, to make a long story short, from that, I've been doing it the opening day and the last day of every season.
Will we see it in this World Series?
There's possibility.
I asked him that question last Friday. Not only have we seen it, we've seen it a couple of times, and I have a feeling if you're a betting man, you bet the over for tomorrow night. He'll do it again. Bob Engel of the National League is back of the plate. John Shulock of the American at first. Jim Quick, National, second. Don Denkinger at third. Billy Williams down the left field line, and Jim McKean back of the plate last night. And an object afterward of the wrath of Joaquin Andujar is down the right field line. Whitey Herzog watching his team now trying to go up 3-1, and Dick Hauser, who saw his team down 2-0 in the playoffs and coached the Toronto Blue Jays in 7, hoping that his club can duplicate that feat. And tonight they'll try to get even. So the St. Louis Cardinals with John Tudor on the mound to face Lonnie Smith, and then Willie Wilson and George Brett here in the first inning. Tudor motioning in
leading off the game for the Royals.
To the plate umpire, Bob Engel holding up 3
left
fingers.
fielder Lonnie Smith.
Lonnie Smith took a little extra time. I don't know if there was any psychology involved there or just what, to try to get him out of rhythm early, but Lonnie took a long time in the on-deck circle, and now he's in, and here we go with a strike. 1-1. Smith 5 for 12 in the World Series. As you know, he started the season here in St. Louis. And then when Vince Coleman was called up from the minors, Smith became expendable. That's popped foul. Kind of curious in a way when you think about it. Coleman was so instrumental in the Cardinals winning the pennant. You begin to wonder if he was more of a factor in this team winning the pennant than Smith would have been. So what I'm saying is that as you look at Coleman, the Cardinals might not have won the pennant without Coleman. And Kansas City probably would not have won the pennant without Lonnie Smith.
A lot of people forget that Lonnie Smith was the runner-up to MVP Dale Murphy back in 1982. He was instrumental in a lot of Cardinal wins when he was here.
And he tries to bunt with 2 strikes. Makes the catch. He didn't even have to make that catch. And Lonnie Smith trying to cross up the Cardinals. That's the last thing they expect, but that's not a very good percentage play.
Batting second, number 6, center fielder Willie Wilson.
All down, but then again, I guess that's the reason he bunted, the element of surprise. You just try to get it down. You know they're playing back. Again, it's not something you normally do. You don't see that very often. In fact, very rarely. Maybe only with a pitcher up at the plate.
And you can't imagine.
Rod Carew, excuse me.
You can't imagine as Wilson stands in that he wasn't aware of the count, because not only was it 0-2, he had already fouled off another pitch. Wilson, meanwhile, loops one into center field for a base hit. So McGee gets it back in. Willie is on. Wilson having a good series now, 6 for 14, and a threat to steal. He had 43. And it'll bring up George Brett.
To add to that strange play, Lonnie Smith trying to bunt with 2 strikes. He's facing a left-hander. I mean, it's not Joaquin Andujar throws that nasty slider low and away. It's a left-hander, a good pitcher, mind you, but not a guy who's going to get him out with anything that's going to be deceptive. The odds are against any bunt with 2 strikes. And, of course, as Jim mentioned, Rod Carew back in '77 had 12 bunt base hits with 2 strikes. Not a lot of people are Rod Carew, however.
So Brett is at the plate, and it's grounded down to Clark, who steps on first and throws the ball by Smith. Ozzie couldn't scoop it out, and they don't get the double play. And on that play, of course, Smith has to tag the runner since the force was off. So Ozzie not only had to glove it, he had to tag him coming in, and he couldn't do it as Brett goes after the first pitch.
Well, this shows why first base is made for a left-handed thrower. Jack Clark, a right-handed thrower, has the impediment of the runner there, and Willie Wilson, in fairness to him, kicked the ball out of the glove of Ozzie Smith. Ozzie made a super play on that in-between hop. But if that's a left-handed throwing first baseman, of course, which it wasn't, he has a chance to get 1 step in the line and make the good throw to easily get Wilson.
Of course, the key to that play is that he does not have the force he has to tag Willie Wilson, because the ball beat him to the bag.
Now Frank White, and he checks his swing and fouls it away. And now with first base open, and the way White has been going, Tudor has to be careful and is afforded the option of intentionally walking him, as he has hit Tudor very well throughout his career. John in the American League, and that's why some of the Royals have had extensive experience in the past against Tudor. Foul tipped into the glove of the air, and the count is 0-2. Sundberg is on deck. No balls, 2 strikes to count. Wilson at second base. There's Jim Sundberg.
It's only fair to point out that the John Tudor that was in the American League and the one that's been in the National League this year are 2 different pitchers. The ability to pitch inside a lot more and more effectively. It's made it Because in the National League, or excuse me, the American League, he pitched away, didn't have the great changeup. Now he has that to go along with a fastball and an occasional curveball. He throws mostly to left-handers.
1-2 pitch is lifted in the air to shallow right field. Here comes Cedeno. And that's that for Kansas City. No runs, a single by Wilson, and leave Willie after a half. Royals, nothing. Cards coming up. Take a look now at the Cardinal lineup. They have Willie McGee leading off. He hit second during the regular year, but with Coleman out, he hits first. And Ozzie Smith, who normally hit lower in the order during the regular year, bats second. Tom Herr hitting third. Jack Clark, playoff hero, the cleanup hitter, Tito Landrum, and what a postseason he is having, batting fifth. Cesar Cedeno is the platooning right fielder. Switch hitting Terry Pendleton is at third base. Tom Nieto does the catching tonight. He's in there for his bat and also the left-hander working. John Tudor, the pitcher. As you look at the Kansas City defense, Steve Balboni is at first base. He's still trying to get on track. The second baseman, Frank White, still steady as ever. Shortstop, Buddy Biancalana. And at third base, as usual, is the big man, George Brett. The outfield tonight for the Royals has Lonnie Smith, who is in the dugout. Mickey Cobb attending to him, the Kansas City trainer. Appears to be taping his hand. Willie Wilson in center field. And around in right is Darryl Motley. He platoons with Pat Sheridan. Back of the plate is Jim Sundberg. And on the mound is the man who was the ace of the staff last year. Is the elder statesman, I suppose, of a very young pitching staff. He's 28 years old. And in the meantime, you begin to wonder about Smith, and perhaps the ball might have made contact with his finger on the bat on the bunt. That's conceivable, but he is not in the outfield as yet, as the other Royals look into the dugout now. Dick Hauser looks on, and Mickey Cobb, the trainer.
Tell you, Al, he fouled that 1-1 pitch back, and it's also conceivable that he could have taken the nail away from the thumb on that swing, and that will happen occasionally, and that might have been the reason that he bunted with 2 strikes, because he didn't feel like he could swing the bat.
We understand from one of our cameramen in that area, one of the Royals players, saying that he has a blister on that thumb, or had a blister, and something happened on the bunt attempt. In any event, it's, well, you don't think it's serious. Might impede his swing, or it could impede his throwing, however. We'll have to wait and see.
Even though for a hitter, you can have a lot of things wrong with you, but you cannot have anything wrong with your hands. For obvious reasons. That's where the bat lies.
How about throwing?
Yeah.
As a pitcher, I used to go, you get a blister between starts, you put a Band-Aid on it, try to go down and throw with it, take it off the minute you get to the bullpen, because it's impossible to throw a ball with a Band-Aid on your hand.
McGee is at the plate, and he grounds it down to Brett at third on one hop, and down goes Willie. And in Lonnie's case, to begin with, he needs all the help he can get when he's throwing. He has an erratic arm.
Number 1.
And we'll just have to wait and see as to the effect of the situation with Smith. Here's the other Smith, no relation, Ozzie, the switch hitter. Ozzie, after winning the MVP award in the League Championship Series, is only 1 for 11 in the World Series. He hit .302 from the right side this year. 1-0 the count.
And all of his home runs during the season came from the right side, and then he shocked everybody with his first left-handed home run in the playoffs.
2 balls and no strikes the count. And then nearly hit another one off Tom Niedenfuhr, the same pitcher, in the next game in Los Angeles, which turned out to be a triple deep into the right field corner of Dodger Stadium. 3 balls and no strikes the count. Bud Black came over from the Seattle chain in 1982. Won a key game against the Angels down the stretch. And it's ball 4. So Smith is on now 4 pitches. Ozzie had 31 stolen bases during the regular year. And Tommy Herr is the batter.
Second baseman, Tom Herr.
hit .282. Smith held on by Balboni at first base.
Look at the lead Ozzie Smith has. 2 feet on the rug.
And he was going back as Black delivered for a strike, so he did not read that move.
Or else he had that one-way lead. Sometimes you get off there a little farther than you would normally if you're not going to second. But he has 2 feet on the rug again. Maury Wills, I think, an innovator of that one-way lead where you're going back to first, and when you're running, you don't take nearly as big a lead.
That time he was going back again, and that's a strike, and the count is 0-2.
Of course, that's not the best way to steal second base. Bud Black with 11 pickoffs last year, only 2 this year. He has a good move, but when you pick 11 guys off, one year you don't run the next year. You respect that move, and I think Ozzie Smith has been mystified by it.
And the other night, we likened some of his body language, as it were, his style, to Steve Carlton, the man who knew how to hold runners on at first base pretty well.
Steve Carlton has led the National League in balks about the last 5 years. Of course, not this year because he went on the DL for the first time in his career. He has that balk move, and as Jim explained last night, good moves are often balk moves, but in order to deceive the runner, you have to have a good move.
Well, you have to be right on the edge.
Yeah.
What you have to do is try to create a move that is deceptive but not a balk. And then again, there's a lot of umpires in the league that have a different interpretation of what a balk is and what it isn't. I mean, the rule book is supposed to explain it, but the umpire's interpretation of that rule sometimes differs.
And he hasn't picked off. So Smith gets caught wrong way, and Balboni throwing to Biancalana. Biancalana to Sundberg covering at first base as Jim backs up, and it pays off. 1-3-6-2. Again, too many throws on the rundown, as we saw a couple of times in game 1, but at least they get Smith.
Again, Smith just gets caught in between. That's what a good move will do to you. And now the fire drill starts. Of course, you have to give Ozzie a lot of credit because of his speed. And there you see Sundberg with a tag. He makes that rundown difficult.
And also keep in mind there's an American League umpire at first base, and as we pointed out last night, they're a little more liberal on moves to first base.
And also, Bud Black probably knows how John Shulock detects a balk. Meanwhile, Hurst strikes out, and the Cardinals are gone in the first. No score after 1. George Brett in another World Series. He was there in 1980, and earlier he talked about the difference between then and now.
I think in 1980 we were just happy to be there, and the results were almost anticlimactic. But this one is important. We want to win this one, and I think, as you could probably see by the performance last night, we want it. We want it bad. The way we played last night after losing Sunday night, the toughest loss probably of my life, even though we lost the World Series in 1980 and we lost 3 playoffs to the Yankees in 76, 77, and 78. I really feel Sunday's loss was the toughest loss that I ever had to live with.
Meanwhile, Mickey Cobb is still working on the finger of Lonnie Smith, so we'll just have to wait and see. Lonnie, the leadoff hitter, and Kansas City starts the second inning with their number 5 batters. Sundberg, Motley, and Balboni against Tudor in the second inning with no score. Sundberg, a .245 hitter during the regular season, takes outside, ball 1. 1-0 the count. Strike. Kind of an esoteric statistic, but in a way it's very significant. John Tudor has now pitched 117 consecutive innings without walking the leadoff batter. Fouled away, and if you're wondering about the league average, it is 14 innings. And granted, that's really out of left field in terms of numbers, but it does prove one thing: he does not get in trouble at the outset of an inning very often.
Well, we gave you that stat last night.
In the air to right field, where Cedeno has room and away.
When the first runner gets on, 51% of the time he scores. When you get the first batter out, it's only 14%. So obviously he's helping himself. Now it tells me, as a former pitcher, that also he has a lot of confidence that he can throw strikes even if the count goes to 3-2 in his stuff. as we've talked about, and if you saw him pitch the first ball game and he was not on his game, he's not afraid to throw a changeup 3-2, so you know that he can come at you with any pitch, and if you're a batter, that means you have to look for any pitch. It makes it even more difficult.
You can now make it 118 innings as he gets Sundberg for the out, and Motley is the hitter. 0-1 the count. Motley a low average this year. He was disappointing in that regard, but he did hit 17 home runs, so he had more power than they had expected. But they did not expect him to hit that low. In fact, when the season started, Motley and Sheridan were in the lineup every day, and that's why they had to go out and trade for Lonnie Smith. Strike. They couldn't afford to have both of them in the lineup every day, so they wound up platooning Motley and Sheridan and got Smith in the deal with the Cards.
I talked to Darrell, and he said it when he came up from the minors, he felt he could hit a line drive any time. This year, that wasn't the case.
Nieto can't hold it.
There's Brett Saberhagen.
And nope, Janine has not given birth yet. We will let you know. What a performance last night. Still a ball and 2 strikes. Nice play there by Mike Ferraro. He managed the Cleveland Indians a couple of years back. Joaquin Andujar, last night's loser. And for now, out of the bullpen. He has lost his spot in the rotation. As down goes Motley. 2 down. Whitey Herzog will probably go with Bob Forsch tomorrow night.
Look at Tom Nieto sitting outside, and John Tudor came inside. Little sailing fastball, and that's what happens even though you don't throw the ball 90 miles an hour. When you have all the hitters sitting on all that off-speed pitches, and that 85-mile-an-hour fastball looks like it's 110.
You can pretty much call the game if you're sitting in your living room just by watching Tom Nieto. You just see him move, and you'll see how many times Tudor hits his glove. Again, moving inside.
Strike 2, and the count is 0-2.
I guess to simplify it, anytime you see Nieto move inside, it's not going to be a straight change because that's not where you throw straight changes. He's going to come outside this time, and this could be the off-speed pitch.
1-2 the count.
To me, it's a great indication, and after watching him pitch in the first game, he was not throwing the ball where Darrell Porter was sitting. Tonight, he seems to be just about hitting the glove every time.
That's a problem with setting up too early. Tom Nieto's setting up very, very early, and when you move that early, you've got some peekers in both leagues, and they peek back there and see where you're sitting. Or if they don't see you outside, they know you're sitting inside.
Now Boney grounds it back of third. Pendleton with a long throw. He nails him, and it's a 3-up and 3-down inning. At the end of an inning and a half, no score in Game 4. Tomorrow night in Game 5, 8 Eastern time, Danny Jackson, who started Game 1 for Kansas City, against the Cardinal right-hander Bob Forsch. If there's a 6th game, Danny Cox will pitch that one. Whitey Herzog does not want to pitch Cox on 3 days rest. So Forsch will get the start, and Jack Clark takes a strike, and the count is 0-1. Clark, Landrum, and Cedeno against Bud Black in the bottom of the 2nd inning. 1-1 the count. Bud Black, born in San Mateo, California, now living in the desert in Indian Wells, California. Went to San Diego State, and one of his teammates was Tony Gwynn of the San Diego Padres. And Clark fouls that one off his foot, and the count is 1-2.
Those are always painful and rarely serious. But you can't tell that to Jack Clark right now. Breaking ball down and in. Watch him pound that ball, a lot of bat speed, right on the left ankle. And that's smarts. You mentioned Tony Gwynn, a teammate of Bud Black's at San Diego State, also Bobby Meacham of the New York Yankees, who started off his career in the St. Louis Cardinal organization.
Gene Gieselman, the trainer extraordinaire of the St. Louis Cardinals, freezing the area. The last thing Whitey Herzog can afford now is to lose somebody else. Keep in mind, when Coleman went down, they could not add a 25th player. Herzog very upset about that rule. In fact, talked to Commissioner Peter Ueberroth last night about it, and from what Whitey said earlier today, I'm getting the feeling that Ueberroth is going to look into it, and that might be changed in the very near future, by next year's World Series anyway, as Clark fouls it away. 1-2. The ability to replace a player who gets injured or is out during the course of a playoff or a World Series with another player from the roster.
Well, Dal Maxwell, who's general manager of the Cardinals, said, what happens if you have 25 guys on a bus? 7 guys get hurt. I mean, what do you do? Obviously, exaggerated point, but there is some realism to a possibility that a couple of guys might get hurt coming to the ballpark. You never know.
You don't get down to the 25th that much, but could eventually prove to be significant over the course of a 7-game series. 2-2 pitch, a half swing, and down he goes. So that's a second strikeout for Bud Black.
Well, what makes this pitch so effective? He's thrown him a couple of breaking balls in. High fastball away. You see him reach for it. Can't catch up with it.
I guess the fairness of that rule is up to individual interpretation. But I think when it happens like it happened to Vince Coleman, I mean, it didn't even happen in a game. It happened with the tarpaulin rolling out, an accident.
And the man who has replaced Vince Coleman is the man at the plate, and what a postseason he is having. Tito Landrum, 5 for 11 in the World Series. And he was hot in the playoffs, 6 for 14 against the Dodgers. Well, when you go back to the genesis of that rule, it had to do with what Charlie Finley tried to do in the '73 World Series with Mike Andrews and Manny Trio, when he tried to get rid of Andrews and put Trio on the roster, and that's why they came up with that rule, that you couldn't replace a man outside. So now I guess they're going to take another look at that rule, a closer look, and I have a feeling they'll change it next year.
Charlie Finley didn't have medical documentation that a bone was broken. I think under these circumstances, when you have medical proof that he's injured, a 25th player should be added.
2 balls, 2 strikes, the count on Landrum. 1 out, bases empty. No score in the bottom of the 2nd inning. Still 2-2. Temperature is 71 degrees. Think about the overcoats in World Series time. Tonight, shirt sleeves. A little humid, in fact. Sort of a spring-like day in St. Louis. That sort of feeling. Outside on the count, 3-2. They say a 60% chance of thunder showers around midnight.
You talk about a guy who dived across that plate and gets all of this ball. Tito Landrum showing unusual power the other way. Remember, we have talked about how tough it is to hit home runs in this ballpark. The first home run of the series for the Cardinals. And he hit that ball a long way.
Well, we talked about that too. They've gotten him out on the inside part of the plate, but 3-2. He can run. He's not a great base runner. You want to throw a strike. You think it's a good pitch until the guy hits it out of the ballpark.
Now Cedeno takes a strike. Tito Landrum, for the most part, a utility player throughout his career. Never really had a spot in the lineup for any significant stretch of time. But a moment in the sun, though, for him. Cedeno hits one softly down the short, and Delana throws him out. 2 down with the bases empty. Wimbledon coming up.
Batting seventh,
There is
number 9,
Vince
third
Coleman on
baseman,
the right.
Terry Pendleton.
He's probably saying, you think I can get my job back next year?
It's really a shame that Coleman didn't get to play in the series, because you'd think that you throw out that 110 stolen bases, it just says, oh, it's 110 stolen bases. Every
Pendleton
time.
grounds it down to White, and the Cardinals are done the second inning. The Landrum home run gives St. Louis a 1-0 lead. As you can imagine, a great ovation for Tito Landrum as he went back to left field. By the way, I asked George Brett before the game what his reaction was when he heard Coleman wouldn't play in the series.
The way Tito Landrum's playing, I want Vince to play. To be honest with you, I've never seen Vince play. I've seen him on TV. I'm sure he's a great player, but Landrum's killing us.
And that was what Brett said before the game. And he's still killing them. 1-0. The Cardinals on top. That's what we'll have for you Saturday. In the eastern part of the country, you'll see Penn State against West Virginia. In the west, Nebraska, Colorado. Starting times reflected on the bottom of the graphic. Saturday on ABC. Buddy Biancalana lead off, and then Bud Black and Lonnie Smith.
Lead off batting 8th, number 1, shortstop Buddy Biancalana.
With a 188 average, but as a right-handed batter, as we pointed out when he faced Tudor the last time, 269. And he had a couple of hits last night and drove in a run and also scored one. 1-0 the count.
Is a home run hitter, but he's natural right-hand hitter, and his only home run is left-handed this year.
Change for a strike, and the count is 1-2.
As we talked about in the first game, John Tudor off to a 1-7 start. Since then has won 21 out of 22 decisions, which to me is amazing.
Drops down and gets it for strike 3. Second strikeout for him, and he's retired 6 straight.
We talked about his control. 2 strikes. Nieto on the corner. Tudor on the corner.
Pitcher Bud Black.
Now Bud Black comes up for his first at-bat as a major leaguer. In the minors in 1980, when he pitched in A-ball in the California League at San Jose, he came up 4 times with 1 hit and struck out twice. But he was swinging during batting practice very well. So we'll see. Takes a strike on 1. Well, very well relative.
Yeah, exactly. You told me about your great batting practice back in the early 70s yesterday.
0-2. Looking at a left-hander's curveball in his first big league at-bat. And down he goes. That's what you call an overmatch.
That's what they call Uncle Charlie. Yellow hammer. Strike 3.
Yacker. A lot of names for that.
That's right. Bud Black has no idea whether that was a strike or not. His head was down about the first base coaching box.
All right, now Lonnie Smith, who takes some extra time just to enable the pitcher Bud Black to walk back to the dugout. And remember, he had that finger worked on between innings. So we'll see if we can notice any ill effects. Swing and a miss, and the count 0-1. One and 1 the count.
Let me ask you, Tim, if when you were hitting and a guy has a good fastball and good control, but he also has an excellent changeup, how do you go about what do you go to the plate looking for?
Well, it depended on the pitcher. Of course, a left-hander, you're fighting left-handers off more than you're up there looking for a particular pitch. But I think you look for an area as opposed to a particular pitch.
3 balls and 1 strike on Lonnie Smith.
If, for instance, a guy cannot throw the ball by you, you're inclined to look away because you know you can handle all the fast stuff inside. Of course, everybody guesses. Lonnie in an ideal hitting situation here, and he takes.
Full rip at the first pitch and then takes 3 and 1.
Well, again, he might have been looking changeup, and he came with the fastball.
Strikes off the side. 1-0 St. Louis. Going to the bottom of the third. Here's a little montage, Jim.
Well, this is the first strikeout. You see Nieto move away. Fastball on the outside corner. First strikeout. Nieto away. Curveball for strike 3. 3-2. Changeup. Totally fooled. Another clinic.
Now live it is Nieto at the plate, and he takes low, ball 1. 1-0 the count. So Tom Nieto gets to play in the World Series for the first time, the right-hand batting catcher who saw a good deal of action this season. And he is in there tonight because of his bat. You might suspect from time to time certain pitchers like certain catchers, to wit the fellow sitting next to me and Steve Carlton, but in this particular case, I happened to be in the Cardinal clubhouse before the game when Nieto walked in and told Tudor he was catching, and Tudor said, "Oh, yeah?"
The way Tudor's throwing, he could throw against a wall.
Yeah.
It's funny the way he phrased it. He said, "You're not catching, you're playing."
1-2.
Which I think he made it even more astounding.
Well, Darryl Porter has been struggling at the plate. Porter is 1 for 9, the left-hand batting Cardinal catcher. So Nieto in there tonight, to be followed by Tudor and McGee. And the 1-2 pitch is high, ball 2. 2-2 the count. There is Porter with a night off, at least the first part of the night off. Three and 2 the count. The last way you'd like to start an inning, walking the number 8 hitter. Pretty much like putting a man at second, especially with Tudor up there who can bunt. And that's the hole he's just dug for himself right now. Scoring summary. That's it, folks. To join us late, Tito Landrum to right field, went the other way, and it's 1-0 St. Louis. So Brett plays in shallow at third, Balboni holding the runner at first, and Tudor, a 138 hitter during the regular season. Bunts in the air, caught by Black, and they'll get a double play as White covers first. So the play goes 1-4. That play in living black and white. Bud DeFrank for the double play.
Well, there's nothing Nieto can do. He's taken off, and now he's frozen right there. The interesting thing about that play, if he didn't break, all Bud Black has to do is drop the ball and go to second or first and complete the double play. But he catches it, doubles off Nieto easily. Black and white, all right. Standing.
Let me ask you a question, though. Why would he be running?
Well, probably because he can't run. And it was a bunt and run. And on the rug, if you send a guy who can't run, that's the best chance to get him to second base.
I knew the answer. I just wanted to hear it from you. I mean, that's all.
0-1 on Willie McGee. Takes a strike and a count 0-2.
I think that play ought to be used more on the rug because, Jim, there aren't too many artificial surfaces in the American League, but there are quite a few in the National League, and it's tough to sacrifice and is becoming a lot tougher as the years go by because defenses are becoming better in defending against it.
1-2. Maybe Mariano Duncan of the Dodgers has the right theory about bunting.
That's
Bunt
right.
for a double.
He bunted for 3 doubles this year.
push it by him.
And he does that on natural grass. If he were on artificial surface, those doubles may have been triples.
Boy, is he a good-looking shortstop.
Yes,
as
sir.
everybody found out during the playoffs. McGee rips one.
The most volatile area for the long ball or any ball hit well, in my opinion, is down and in. And I don't really know if pitchers and catchers have caught up to that theory yet. Those balls go a long, long way. Balls down and in. The most dangerous area to throw any hitter. You concur, Mr. Palmer?
Certainly do after watching that replay.
You didn't throw anybody down and in. You had that high-riding fastball and nasty curve, right?
Yeah, but I still threw a lot of home runs.
Yeah, but not down and in that.
No, you don't try to do that. I think that was a curveball, and you have to give McGee some credit because he went down and got it. But if Bud Black could have it back, he would want it away.
So it's 2-0 now, and Smith is at the plate. McGee, very consistent this year, a .356 left-handed batter, .348 righty, but he did hit 7 of his 10 home runs right-handed. As Biancalana says to Ozzie, as they say in basketball, in your face. He turns around and makes a great play on the Wizard.
Stands to reason that Biancalana would make a play like this against the best shortstop that most people have ever seen. How in the world do you get to your feet like that and make the strong throw? Some kind of play.
Busch Stadium, Al Michaels, Jim Palmer, Tim McCarver in the 4th inning. 2-0 St. Louis with Willie Wilson at the plate, taking up high, ball 1. Wilson with a base hit, and he has been Kansas City's only base runner. Tudor has retired the last 8. Chopper to the right side. Clark makes the play, and that will bring up Brett. You know what I've noticed? If you really want to see what Tudor is doing, you watch the batter and watch how many swings are off balance, or even when they take, how off balance the hitters are.
Well, the hitter's got to go up there and look in 4 areas. He's got to look away. Tudor throws hard enough to jam him. He's got the straight change. That gets him leaning forward, and he can bust you inside, and when you're looking for the changeup, and break your bat. So you're going 4 ways when you face him. It's tough enough to hit when you know what's coming.
Strike, and the count is 0-1.
He's got that pitch for left-handed hitters.
No balls, 2 strikes the count. So quickly ahead on Brett. 2-0 St. Louis on a pair of homers by Landrum and McGee. One ball, 2 strikes the count.
There you saw him drop down. That's another perspective from the hitter. A little different arm angle. Missed with the fastball, but makes the hitter think, and that's what you want to do if you're out on the mound.
Strikeouts for Tudor.
Well, this is how you win 21 out of 22 decisions. Throw it right there.
Frank White chops his foul at the plate, and the count 0-1. 2 out. And the base is empty. And that's grounded down to second. One second baseman retires the other, and Tudor has just been magnificent through 4. It's 2-0 Cardinals. I asked Tito Landrum if he'd rather be a starter with a mediocre team or remain a role player with the Cardinals.
You know, Al, that is a very tough question for myself, because deep down inside, I would like to see what I can do with about 500 at-bats under my belt. But then again, I think, you know, here I am on a winning ball club once again. I'm very happy with the situation. Whitey sits down, he talks to me, we have a good rapport. I go to another ball club, I've almost got to start all over again. It's a conflict within my mind many times as people like yourself propose the question to me. To be very honest, certainly I want to play every day. There's no doubt in my mind. Given the opportunity on a 4th or 5th place team, you never know what can happen. They might be in a rebuilding state, and I might be able to help somebody on that team.
The articulate Landrum having, well, an MVP-type World Series to this point. It's as simple as that. Tommy Herr is at the plate, and he grounds it foul by Hal Lanier in the third base coaching box. Bouncing back to Don Denkinger. On the subject of Hal Lanier, the coach in third, he is being talked about as the possible manager of the Houston Astros. There he is, Cardinal coach under Whitey Herzog, and the Astro job is open. Dick Wagner will decide in a matter of days as to who the man will be to guide the team under the dome. 2-1. Live Sunday morning coming up this Sunday. New York City Marathon at 10:30 Eastern Time. One pitch is a squibber foul. And it's 2-2. Right now, the managing jobs that are open are in Houston, Pittsburgh, and Toronto. Two balls, 2 strikes are down on Tommy Herr. He'll be followed by Clark, and then we'll see Landrum. Wave going around Busch Stadium. Grounded to third. Brett gets in front of it. Herr is gone. Out number 1. One away here in the bottom of the 4th inning. And Jack Clark comes up. He struck out in the second. George Brett. Mike Lupica of the New York Daily News brought up something very interesting before the game. He said, do you realize that twice now in the playoffs and World Series, going into Game 3, the Royals were down 2-0 in Game 3 in the championship series. He was 4 for 4 with 2 homers. Last night, 2 for 2 with 3 walks. Got on base 9 times in 9 plate appearances and made that spectacular defensive play against Toronto. Clutch player, would you say?
I would say that, yes.
Clark drills it to left field, and it's hooked, and it's a base hit. Lonnie Smith fields on a hop, and Clark is going for second. And the throw to White is in time to nail it. So Jack Clark tries to stretch a single into a double, and keep in mind, he is a slightly below average runner. He also fouled that pitch off his foot the last time up.
And nailing him, I think, is the right term for Lonnie Smith, because the nail on his right thumb was bothering him, but not enough not to throw out Jack Clark. Outstanding throw by Lonnie Smith. And when you're 2 runs up, a good try by Jack Clark with 1 out. A play you wouldn't try with nobody out, but you would be more inclined to try it with 1 or 2 out.
Landrum is the batter, and he grounds it foul. And we'll take a look at what happened in his last appearance, going the other way to right field to give the Cardinals a 1-0 lead. 0-1 the count. Inside, he had a lot of, well, negatives at work on that last play. Lonnie Smith is not a good fielder and an erratic thrower. Clark not a fast runner, and he basically, throughout his career, has been a very erratic and at times bad base runner.
Well, the mistake he made there, Al, is his turn at first base. He was almost out towards right field. He did not make a very good turn when he hit the bag. Of course, that can cost you about 5 or 6 steps.
Biancalana scoops up the grounder and throws him out, and that's that for the Cardinals here in the bottom of the 4th inning. No runs, 1 hit, and nobody left on. Lonnie Smith coming back into the dugout. And here is what Jim Palmer was just alluding to. The turn by Clark at first base, subsequently to be thrown out at second, and we'll go to the 5th inning with the Cardinals leading the Royals 2-0. As we go to the 5th, let's get the thoughts of Reggie Jackson.
No, right now, obviously, I'm finding out why John Tudor has a reputation he has of being a great pitcher and being a fellow that is a different pitcher than he was in the American League. Obviously, looks like he's going to throw a shutout, or is on his way to one, that's for sure. And I see what happened when him and Dwight Gooden got hooked up. You don't think anybody's going to score. He really has not made a bad pitch all night, and nobody has really hit a ball hard off of him all night. St. Louis knows what they have to do. They don't want it tied, so they're going after it and doing something different, hitting the ball out of the ballpark. You know, in defense of Kansas City, Al, you can look at the way they're swinging the bats tonight, and they don't look good. Anytime you see a guy like George Brett, the great hitter he is, take the swing that he did on a strikeout, which means that John Tudor is pitching as good as it looks like he's pitching. Anytime you have a guy throwing a ball like that, he's going to make the offense look bad.
And it's drilled to right center field, and on the run comes Cedeno to make the catch. So there was the first solidly hit ball by the Royals tonight, and Cedeno is able to glove it on a good running catch off the bat of Sundberg.
Well, he was playing Sundberg shallow, and when you're in a position to make a play like that, especially if you're the opposite fielder, most good baseball people, and the Cardinals are run by good baseball people, will bring that opposite fielder in, especially with a guy who can't pop the ball out of the ballpark.
Motley at the plate.
Exemplifies a point that John Tudor's made all year, and they said, what's the difference? He said, not only am I pitching better, he says, I have better players playing behind me. There's a perfect illustration.
And while Cedeno may have lost something defensively, think back when he came up, he was a center fielder, and he was a 5-time Gold Glove winner. So good catches by Cesar are not rare. 2-1 the count. 2-0 St. Louis on home runs in the 2nd inning by Landrum, and in the 3rd inning by McGee. And the Royals bullpen will get active. Broken back bouncer down to 3rd. Pendleton throws out Motley, and there are 2 down with Balboni coming up.
Not a very difficult play. What impresses me, he comes right up and throws it. Throws a little bit off target, but if he held the ball, Clark wouldn't be able to come off in time to make the tag. A lot of infielders want to read the president's name on the ball.
Mark Gubazai is throwing in the bullpen. He's throwing because the Royals are down to the number 7 spot in the order. If the next 2 men get on, Hauser wants the option of hitting for Black. And there is Mark Gubazai, a starting pitcher, but he's working out of the pen in the World Series. 1-1. 2 out, bases empty. Tudor has retired 14 of the 15 he's faced. A soft single by Willie Wilson in the 1st inning, the only blemish. Two and 1. There is Will Clark, great college player at Mississippi State, Golden Spikes Award winner. Looking on from the sea of red, it's Busch Stadium. Balboni breaks his bat. That's a base hit into left field. So here's a guy who's paid the money he is to hit home runs. He has now been up 50 times in postseason play and does not have an extra base hit.
Buddy Biancalana.
Pretty good idea of his strength there, though. Most guys don't get the ball to the outfield. Tudor made a pretty good pitch, got it in on him, as you said, broke his bat, and he's still strong enough to hit it into left.
Biancalana takes a strike and the count 0-1.
It's really a shame that because Steve, people in America are not getting to see literally the strongest man in the American League. I mean, I don't believe there's anybody who can hit a ball farther when he does make good contact.
In the air to shallow right field. Here comes Cedeno on the move. Similar to pretty well. No runs a hit, lead one with 4.5, 2-0 Cards. Bottom of the 5th inning, game 4 of the 1985 World Series. Cardinals leading in games 2-1 and leading tonight 2-0. Cesar Cedeno, Terry Pendleton, and Tom Nieto come up. Cedeno getting a nice hand for his defensive work in the top of the inning. 0 for 1 tonight. 1 for 7 in the series. This will be Bud Black's final inning as he is due to lead off in the top of the 6th. Figure to be Bud Black's final inning. Popped up, and it's Balboni. 1 out. Now Pendleton coming up. By the way, just a footnote on one of the things we discussed before, talking about the Cardinals not being allowed to add a player. The Cardinals had declared Coleman ineligible after the championship series, could have added a player. But remember, in that transition period, it appeared that Coleman might be able to play in the World Series, so they had to wait. And they declared their 25-man roster at the outset of the series, and that's the one they have to live with.
So the gamble cost them.
Pendleton taking the ball, and it's 1-0.
Actually, the gamble cost the Royals because Landron's been playing.
Yeah, you're right. 1-0. That's drilled into left center for a base hit, and Willie Wilson can't even cut that one down. Pendleton around second, heading for third, and no throw. It's a triple.
The over-shifted outfield, Willie Wilson into right center, and Terry Pendleton rips this to left center, and Wilson just can't track it down. Pendleton an easy triple, and he's at third with 1 out. And I guess you ought to be looking for a squeeze right here with Nieto, the number 8 hole hitter, followed by John Tudor.
Prototypical situation here, the number 8 hitter and 1 out, and a man at third. And the Royals certainly know it. The infield plays in to begin with. And they'll have to look for the bunt. Meanwhile, the Royals bullpen busy again. And here comes the squeeze, and they have to let it roll foul. And that's the smart play by Balboni. That's exactly what he had to do. They had no chance to get him on the suicide squeeze. So once that ball hits the AstroTurf, just let it go and start praying.
Well, Pendleton coming all the way. Nieto not a great bat angle for bunting. Gets the ball down, and as you said, Al, he does the only thing. That could be advanced scouting. Terry Pendleton around first base, almost falls down. This is on the way for 3 bases. Loses his footing. Gives you an idea what kind of speed he has. He made it into an easy triple.
0-1 the count.
It's a problem with AstroTurf fields. When you do come around first base, you sometimes hit the bag and you get caught almost in between.
Now it's 0-2.
Jim, you brought up an interesting point about the bat angle when Nieto bunted that ball. The bat head has always got to be above the hands. Because not only will you get the ball in the air, but when you bunt it the opposite way, as Nieto did, that ball has the spin on it that's going to take it foul. That's why he bunted that ball in the air and foul.
1-2 the count. Joe Beckwith is throwing now in the Kansas City bullpen.
Another factor that comes into play, if the advanced scouts in Kansas City did a good job, they will know that all bunts here between home plate and the bags, both first base and third base, the drainage of the field makes the ball roll foul, so you let the ball go.
Pitch out, and they suspected the Cardinals were going to squeeze with 2 strikes. 2-2 the count.
Well, you can do that. You're ahead in the count. We talked about the 2-strike bunt with Lonnie Smith earlier in the game. You gotta have to make a perfect bunt when you're bunting for a base hit, but on a squeeze play, all you have to do is get it down.
Now I wonder if Whitey will squeeze with 2 strikes here. You saw Sundberg looking over at Hauser in the dugout. No, he's up there to swing away and takes high. Ball 3. 3-2 the count. Nieto is squeezing, and Black goes home and instead Nieto goes to second.
The count, and the reason Herzog squeezed on this pitch was because he knew Black had to throw a strike. He did. Nieto gets it down, and the ball gets by Sundberg. Sometimes you talk a guy into squeezing. The pitch out on the 1-2 pitch may have been the pitch that gave Whitey the idea, hey, not a bad idea. We might do it with 2 strikes.
That's why I thought they might do it on the 2-2 pitch. And then 3-2, leave it to Herzog to do it, and it's 3-0. St. Louis with Tudor swinging and missing, and the count 0-1.
Black made a great play. If you look, you can't really, because the replay's already been shown, but the ball was just about where you were. It looked like Sundberg really was not exactly in great position to make the tag at home plate.
Outside, and the count is 1-1. Scored as a fielder's choice, also a sacrifice for Nieto. That means he gets a run batted in as Pendleton scores in the second on Black's error. And that's the first Royal error in the World Series.
Well, you know what happens when a pitcher throws to first when he's close to a first baseman, or throws hard to a catcher when he's close to a catcher. It dropped down. Obviously, he had to drop down because he barehanded the ball, and that ball probably sailed a little bit into the runner, and that's why Sundberg really had no chance at it. Of course, that's spoken by an ex-catcher. You're speaking from a pitcher standpoint. There's the throw right here, and there's Sundberg. Throws really into the runner, but Sundberg, in fairness to Bud Black, is in front of the plate. And if you're going to ward somebody off to the outside part of the plate, you want to put the weight on your left foot. But I'll tell you, Jim, I'm inclined to agree with you. It didn't look like Sundberg was ready for that throw.
They're going to walk McGee now intentionally. A couple of reasons he might not have been ready. Number one, it's shocking that the bunt goes down in the first place. Secondly, once you see that ball hit the AstroTurf, I guess your normal inclination has to be, well, that's a successful suicide squeeze. The guy's going to score, the out's going to be recorded at first. And by the time you think about where you should be, it's too late.
Yeah, but if you're a catcher, you're always prepared to make a play because you don't know what the pitcher's going to do. And you don't know what kind of jump the runner had at third base, Pendleton in this case. And had Sundberg come up with the ball, and it would have been a good play, he would have had Terry Pendleton.
Smith now has walked and grounded out. Cardinals with runners at first and second and 2 down. They lead 3-0 in the bottom of the 5th inning. Ozzie with that high postseason average, but only 1 for 12 in the World Series. 1-0 count. Beckwith is still in the bullpen. Hauser would like to see Black get out of the inning because he's due to bat first. Not that he's going to let himself get out of the ball game because he could make the double switch. But for the moment, he's opted to try to let Black get the 3rd out. 2-0 the count. Ozzie hits a high fly ball in left field. And one Smith retires the other. But in the inning, the Cardinals come up with a run. And at the end of 5-3, we'll be back after this from our local station. Well, a few years ago, Bowie Kuhn refused to wear an overcoat in Cincinnati during the World Series, and they never let him forget it. So we figured we'd show you that baseball can be played in the Midwest in late October. It's gorgeous.
And that was when it was raining also.
But it's a gorgeous night. The temperature is close to 70 degrees, and we're going to take a look now at that play again from a different angle as Sundberg can't handle Black's throw.
And as you said, he really does not look like he's ready for the throw.
Ball could have sailed on him a little bit. And of course, with Black reaching down on the turf, grabbing the ball barehanded, a lot of times you don't have the 2 fingers on it that you would have on it if you had time to throw it. Sometimes you throw that 3-fingered lollipop and the ball sails on you, and it looks like that's what happened there.
Meanwhile, John Wathan pinch hits for Bud Black as we strike the top of the 6th inning. Known as the Duke to his teammates, he makes his first World Series appearance and takes a strike. He was in the 1980 World Series. Wathan, catcher, first baseman, speedy too. Set an American League record for steals by a catcher a few years ago. Pops it up in foul territory, and Nieto has no room to handle this one. So the count is quickly 0-2. As Tudor works on Wathan, in the top of the order, Lonnie Smith and Willie Wilson. And it's Beckwith who continues to throw in the bullpen. That's what we'll have for you Monday night. The Chargers against the Raiders with a couple of new poppies. We congratulate Joe and OJ on becoming fathers of baby girls in the last fortnight. 0-2 pitch, foul tip, held by Nieto, strike 3.
Well, they have an excellent scouting report on John Wathan. Ball not thrown that hard at 86, but look where he goes, up and in. He can't handle it there.
Left fielder,
6
Lonnie Smith.
strikeouts for John Tudor, 1 out, and Lonnie Smith is the batter. Outside. If you're keeping score, Tim brought up an interesting thing in the commercial. When Lonnie Smith bunted foul with 2 strikes in the 1st inning, it was caught. And this one will be caught by Clark. And so the question arose, when you bunt foul with 2 strikes, it's normally a strikeout. But if the catcher makes the catch, it amounts to a foul out. So if the ball had simply dropped, Tudor would have another strikeout. But as it is, he has 6.
Not really that big a deal unless you're catching Dwight Gooden or somebody who strikes out a lot of hitters. I'm sure John Tudor just wants the out.
Wilson pops it up, and Clark right there. And this is not a replay, that's live action. Smith and Wilson to the same spot. At the end of 5 1/2, 3-0 St. Louis. A lot of talk about mandatory or maybe voluntary drug testing in the majors coming soon. Here's the thoughts of Lonnie Smith on that subject.
To prove my innocence, because there was something the commissioner said that if a player isn't, performing up to his abilities, that player ought to be tested. If this player is like myself and last year I hit 250, and it was my first full year after spending a year coming out of the rehab center. And because of my bad year, a lot of people thought I was still back on drugs again.
Thoughts of Lonnie Smith, who's been through it all. The Kansas City left fielder as we go to the bottom of the 6th inning. St. Louis on top by a score of 3-0. Joe Beckwith now comes in to pitch, and Tommy Herr takes outside. Beckwith has not pitched since the regular season. He has not pitched since the 6th of October. So it's been more than 2 weeks since he has been on the mound, and here he is facing Tommy Herr. And he drills it to right field, and that's what happens when you don't go to the mound. with a man at second and nobody out.
Well, you miss with the first pitch away. You're looking fastball, throwing right down the middle. Can't do that to a hitter as good as Tommy Herr. Just a routine double.
I think Tommy Herr typifies and is more or less the prototype Cardinal hitter. A line drive hitter, not a lot of power. Only had 8 home runs this year, but when you're driving 110 runs with 8 home runs, you're doing some thumping.
38 doubles for her this season. Finished third in the league behind Dave Parker and Glenn Wilson.
Ball got out there in a hurry, didn't it?
Now Clark fouling it back. 0-1.
We talked about Joe Beckworth was 8-4 last year. They lost confidence in him. He just did not pitch well. I talked to him before the series started. He said just bad mechanics, but if you're Dick Hauser, how long can you go with a pitcher with bad mechanics? He felt he straightened himself out. But again, when you're not on the mound for a couple of weeks, not exactly the way to build up your confidence. A lot different throwing to Tommy Herr and Jack Clark than throwing down in the bullpen to the catcher.
We saw Clark 3 for 8. They faced each other when Clark was a Giant and Beckwith was a Dodger. Beckwith last year had a good year, and he was the setup man for Quisenberry in '84. 0-2 the count on Clark. 3-0 again. It's worth pointing out the Royals are going with only an 8-man pitching staff. And so here they are in that curious spot where you're in the game, but you're down by 3 in the middle innings, and you sort of have to go to the odd man out, especially with an 8-man staff.
I really think that's the case, though, Al. I would think that as well as Steve Farr pitched in the playoffs and with Gubiza, even though I know that you're trying to possibly save him for tomorrow if Danny Jackson gets in trouble, it seems to me that you're going with the weak link of your bullpen.
Well, what I'm saying, too, is you're going either with number 7 or number 8, and Farr would be down there as well as Clark strikes out, and he looks like anything but the number 8 pitcher. And also the point, too, to remember is that Hauser doesn't have the benefit of the regular season as the DH. He has to think about pinch hitting for pitchers down the line.
He blew that ball right by Jack Clark, up and in. One of the prime spots to pitch a hitter and get him out. Up and in, low and away.
I think one reason maybe is that Beckwith right here, if he gets back into the game, he still has Farr. And the way things have been going with Kansas City, he might opt for Farr over Quisenberry in a tight spot at the end. Up high in the count 1-0. See, Weaver told me what to tell you. Herr at second base and 1 out. It's a chopper to the left side. Brett flips the runner back and throws him out, and there are 2 down. Cedeno is coming up.
Once again, George showing his agility. Not a particularly difficult. Here you see him bobbling the ball. Comes up with it. Makes the play. Easy play, except at third base on AstroTurf, you have to have a lot better range, because if that ball gets by the third baseman, there's no way that Biancalana is going to make the play.
George looked like he had 1 too many items in the express lane of the supermarket, right? 11 instead of 10.
Hit in the air to deep center. Remember, Wilson plays shallow but still has a lot of time out there, and he makes the catch. No runs, a hit, and a man left on. 6 gone at Busch Stadium. 3-0 Cards. Scoring summary: Tito Landrum a home run in the second, Willie McGee hit a home run in the third, and then Terry Pendleton with a triple, and Nieto with the squeeze on a 3-2 pitch. to get him home. It's 3-0. Show you how deep the Cardinal bench is. Cesar Cedeno was out in right field and made a nice defensive play, and yet he's replaced defensively by Andy Van Slyke. As we go to the 7th inning, simply a matter of Van Slyke being the better outfielder at this point in Cedeno's career. You couldn't have said that a few years back. Brett, White, and Sundberg against Tudor, who's been magnificent. Loop to left field and shallow, and that one will drop in for a base hit. So not the most artistic base hit of George Brett's career, but it gets Kansas City started here in the 7th inning.
Second baseman, Frank White.
White is the batter. He's fly to right and grounded to second. You know what I'm wondering, Jim, about Tudor? He was a .500 pitcher for so long, and we've seen in the past some examples of guys who have years like that and then have tremendous years. As White hits a drive to center field, but McGee has room and makes it 4-14 to dead center. So White gives it a ride, but it's simply a long out. Do you think that Tudor is simply having a career year, or was this year a turning point and he'll be up near 20 every season?
I think with this ball club, on the other hand, I think he's going to win 21 out of 22 decisions every year. No, I don't. But you get to the point where he has, or Dwight Gooden was at the end of the season, where you feel that every time you go out, you are going to pitch a good ball game. And that's what John Tudor's doing.
You got to remember, too, he pitched up in Boston. He won 26 games with that green monster for all those right-handed hitters. Matter of fact, in 1982, he was 13-12 and gave up 20 home runs at Fenway Park, 32 to rank him second in the American League that year.
Well, his total career up in Fenway, he was 25-13, and everybody says left-handers can't win up there. Well, he proved them wrong.
Sundberg takes low for a ball, and the count is 1-0. 1 out, 7th inning. 3 singles has been the Kansas City attack tonight. Brett is at first. 1 away. Another strike. Brett's base hit the first time tonight that the Royals have gotten the leadoff man on. Tudor has not walked a man. Has struck out 6. And he's 1-1 with Sundberg. Now 1-2.
I don't know how John Tudor was up in Boston, but I'll tell you, he's got that stoic precision of a surgeon. Reminds you of Doctors DeBakey and Cooley in Houston. The only difference is when Tudor takes the heart out of a team, he doesn't replace it.
And he has the stoicism of a New Englander as he gives up a base hit to right field, and Brett will stop at second. So all of a sudden, some noise from the Royals with runners at first and second. The tying run will come to the plate, and the Cardinal bullpen will get busy.
What's impressive, though, is that he still makes a good pitch. I give credit to Sundberg. Went the other way with it, lined it into right field. And a ball to try to pull, you hit it to second or short.
Right fielder Darryl Motley.
Now Motley, who can hit him out. Only a .222 average this season and .222 in postseason as well to this point, but 17 home runs. Outside in the bullpen, the main man, he's become the main man, Todd Worrell. Not only a rookie, but a guy who was called up in August. And Steve Farr gets up in the bullpen for Kansas City as they start to get down toward the bottom of the order. Fouled away, and the count is 1-1. 5, 6, and 7 with men in scoring position. 1 for 16. That's the situation we're in right now. 3-0 St. Louis on top.
Jim, I would think in this situation you'd want to keep the ball away from Motley because of the double play situation. If you come in bad.
That's right, but he does like the ball out over the plate. Talk about those 17 home runs. He likes to get his arms extended.
Took something off it. The count is 1-2.
though, I talked to Lee May, the batting instructor. Here's a guy that goes from 284 to about 220. And that's a quality pitch on the outside part of the plate. And Lee said he's just kind of moved off the plate. He's moved on the plate. He's a perfect example of a young hitter that really doesn't know what he wants to do when he goes up to the plate.
Sidearm outside, and the count 2-2. Brett at second. Sundberg at first. 1 out. In the air to left field, but shallow, and it's Landrum. 2 gone. And now Balboni, who, as we said before, 50 at-bats in postseason play, does not have an extra base hit. So is he overdue?
This is an interesting at-bat right here. Watch Balboni hitting in this ballpark in the off day and the workout, and then yesterday, and then tonight at batting practice. I'm telling you. Of course, you're not facing the same guys in batting practice that you are in the game. That's quite obvious.
1-0.
Just interesting to me if Balboni will be a little bit more disciplined. We talked all series long that he does swing a lot of bad pitches. I think if he's a little more disciplined, he'll get a better pitch to hit.
2-0. I asked him about situation hitting the other day in an interview, and he said no. He says he knows he should adapt from time to time, but I guess he's had a hard time manifesting it.
Well, again, it's what we said in the second game. Lee May again was saying he doesn't look for pitches, but he looks for zones. I would think right here he would look for a ball and really middle in and try to have a good swing.
He's not going to get one there, though.
He's not getting anything near the plate, as it's turned out as far as the first 3 pitchers are concerned. And Mike Rourke, the pitching coach, will go to the mound. Bianca Lana is on deck, but if Balboni walks, you can forget about Buddy coming up. They will go to the bench.
And I would imagine Hauser will turn Balboni loose on this 3-0 count. John Tudor, it's not a pitch around situation. You're actually putting the tying run on, but it is more a situation where you're not going to get the one guy, left-hander against Balboni, even though Tudor has excellent control, but now he's falling behind. He is not going to give him a good pitch to hit, in my opinion.
3-0 the count. Rourke with Herzog. And it's a strike on a check swing. So it's 3-1.
Well, I'll tell you, managers love for you to leave your feet if you're going to swing at that 3-0 pitch, 3-1 or 2-0. But a check swing, unless it's 2 strikes, managers do not have a lot of patience with that, neither do hitters, of course. A little over-anxious on that swing.
And it's up high, ball 4. So the bases are loaded, and now they'll go to the bench, and Hal McRae will come up to pinch hit. And this, I think, goes back to the Beckwith-Farr thing. Beckwith, if the Royals are able to get back in the game and McRae gets a base hit, and then they hit for the pitcher, they still have Farr and Quisenberry still left in the bullpen. Now McRae has destroyed Tudor. It'll be interesting to see if Herzog lets Tudor stay in to face McRae, because Whitey is fully aware of that. By the way, slugging percentage is over 1,000 because it's at-bats divided into total bases. So in other words, if you hit a home run every time you came up, your slugging percentage would be 4,000. And here comes McRae. In 1972, in the 7th game of the World Series against the A's, he hit for Jack Billingham in the 5th inning and hit a ball to the warning track that turned out to be a sacrifice fly with the bases loaded. He missed a grand slam home run by about 3 feet. And so here it is 13 years later, McRae in the World Series with the bases loaded. And he backs out. And does he remember 72? Absolutely. I talked about it with him earlier this week. The count, the pitch, the feeling he had, it's deja vu for him right now. And he grounds it on the first pitch to Pendleton, and just like that, the Cardinals squelch the threat. Cardinals 3, Royals nothing.
Well, coming off the bench as a pinch hitter, you want to be aggressive. Al McRae is. Look where the ball is. Not a real good pitch to hit.
Onyx Concepcion is now the shortstop. Since McRae batted for Biancalana, Beckwith to face the bottom of the order, Pendleton, Nieto, and then Tudor. Tomorrow night, Danny Jackson has started game 1, and Bob Forsch. I asked Whitey Herzog earlier about his pitcher for tomorrow night, and he said, I'm inclined to go with Forsch. And I said, does that mean it's definite? And he says, yeah, I think so. As Pendleton grounds one to White, who makes a nice stop, throws, and Balboni is able to scoop it out for the out. So 1 away. And Nieto coming up. The reason Whitey was slightly hesitant was the Danny Cox situation as we look at this play again.
This would be a tough play on natural grass, but it's come to be a routine play, especially when a second baseman with pretty good range goes to his left. All the hops are nice and high, legitimate hops. And Frank makes an easy play out of it. That's what it's come for most second basemen who can range to their left.
So 1 out, and just to follow up on the pitcher tomorrow night, I said to Herzog, does the outcome of tonight's game mean anything? Will that possibly determine it? And he paused and he said, well, I've got to make the decision now, so it'll be Forsch. And I've got to push Cox back, even though I wanted to pitch at home. He's had the tender elbow and had to pitch on 3 days rest. Now, of course, if the Cardinals win, there's no doubt about it. He knows he can go with Forsch, save Cox for a 6th game if necessary, and he's got the ace in the hole with Tudor if you go to 7. In the bullpen is Dan Quisenberry. Oh, 0-1 the count on Nieto. Strike 2, and it's 0-2.
Let's almost go back and elaborate a little bit on what we described as the bad pitch that Al McRae swung at. We used to have a guy in the Orioles, Don Stanhouse, who's a relief pitcher, and he said when you come in that situation, usually the hitter is over-aggressive. And the reason for that is he feels that obviously he needs to be aggressive to get the job done, especially pinch hitters coming off the bench. Here's Hal McRae, hasn't hit since Saturday. You see a good, excellent slider down in the strike zone for strike 3 to Nieto. So therefore, you almost expect him. And his theory is why throw a strike until the hitter makes you.
John Tudor takes up high, ball 1, 1-0.
I think with young players coming into the game today, one of the most disturbing things is the lack of knowledge in the strike zone. Matter of fact, Jim, when you think about it, I think about all swinging strikeouts, about 50 to 60% of all swinging strikeouts are balls that are swung at out of the strike zone. And that's also the value of staying ahead, too, right?
That's right. You make the hitter expand the strike zone when you do get ahead.
Two and 1 the count on Tudor. Cardinals on top, 3-0 in the 7th. Two and 2. This telecast, presented by the authority of Major League Baseball, may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form without the express written consent of Major League Baseball. 2 out, and the base is empty. And Tudor goes down on strike. So a nice job by Beckwith after he gave up that ringing double by her. He retires the subsequent 6, and we'll go to the 8th inning at Busch Stadium in St. Louis in Game 4 of the 1985 World Series. Lynn Jones will pinch hit. He came up in Game 1 and tripled Saturday night in Kansas City. Oft used as a defensive replacement, but coming up here, enjoying a light moment with Tom Nieto. His club trailing 3-0. 3-0 St. Louis. Lonnie Smith and Willie Wilson to follow Jones. Ball 1-0.
Unusual batting stance for Lynn Jones. He doesn't bend at the knees, but he bends from the waist.
Oh, he's always been a right field hitter. That's where his triple was. Better defensive player than a hitter. I mean, he's the type of a hitter that if you pitched him away, he's a tough out. Again, doesn't have the power of a Tito Landrum, but pretty good defensive outfielder. Hits the ball the other way. Interesting to me to see how Tudor comes back. Looked like he was losing a little bit of his stuff last inning. Again, we talked about the Gray swinging a bad pitch, kind of helping him out. Be surprised to see bullpen up if he gets in any problems.
2 balls, 2 strikes the count. Jones, Smith, and Wilson. 3 guys who have a lot of company in a phone book in the 8th inning. That's line to the gap in left center field for a base hit and maybe more. Landrum cuts it off deep and then can't. McGee comes up with it, and it's a double. So Jones in 2 pinch hitting appearances with a triple and a double.
And a changeup and some piece of hitting by Lynn Jones right here. If you'll remember, the pinch hit the other night was against John Tudor. So in 2 pinch hit appearances, Lynn Jones has turned into Hal McRae. Hal McRae has battered Tudor for a .458 average career, and now Lynn Jones 2 for 2, 2 extra base hits.
Lonnie Smith takes outside, and the Cardinals in the bullpen get Worrell up, and this time he's joined by Daly. Daly the left-hander and Worrell the righty. Inside, and the count 2 balls and no strikes. Whitey Herzog trying to win his 2nd world championship in 4 seasons. Two and one.
I'll tell you, Al, I played with a young man who tied the Major League World Series record for pinch hits back in 1964, Carl Warwick. He had 3 pinch hits in the '64 series, and I believe that record still stands.
Alan Roth will get right to the book.
Lynn Jones has shot at it. If that indeed is the record, he has 2 in 2 appearances.
We will have a confirmation or denial for you shortly, sir.
All righty.
2 and 1 to count on Lonnie Smith. 2 and 2. Pretty good zip on the fastball. Warwick has some company. 3 hits in a series by a pinch hitter. Bobby Brown, Jim Rhodes, Warwick, Gonzalo Marquez did it with the Oakland A's in '72. And Smith strikes out swinging. Came in with a couple of fastballs and then threw a changeup, and down he goes.
Well, look at the location, right down the middle. Not too many pitchers can get away with a pitch like that. Again, it's the great arm action. Hitter thinks it's a fastball. He sees the arm come through, but you hold the ball a little bit differently, back in your hand, way out in front.
Now Willie Wilson. Tudor has 7 strikeouts. Jones at second base and 1 out. 1-1. Then Jones, the runner at second. 3 runs, 5 hits, no errors for St. Louis. No runs, 5 hits, and 1 error for the Royals. And that's grounded down to her. With Jones advancing, out number 2, and Brett coming up. George Brett is 1 for 3. An opposite field single his last trip. 5 for 13 in the series.
And I think you pointed out last night, Al, that this is only the second time in this postseason play that George Brett has come up with a runner in scoring position.
That they'll pitch to him.
That they'll pitch to, right, because he doesn't represent the tying or go-ahead run.
4 other times they have walked him intentionally. Strike, 0-1. And they'd rather not see White, of course, come up as the tying run, especially after last night. They still have Morrell throwing in the bullpen. Daly sits down because it's lefty against lefty here, and Brett's on 2. At 3 Eastern time on Saturday, a pair of college football games for you. Most of you in the East, Penn State #2 against West Virginia, and for those of you in the West, 3rd-ranked Nebraska taking on Colorado this Saturday on ABC. And Quisenberry comes in. Quisenberry in the bottom of the 8th inning with his club trailing 3-0. Will face McGee, Smith, and her. And here's what McGee did when he came to the plate in the 3rd inning off Bud Black, batting right-handed, hitting one out. That made the score 2-0. So Willie 1 for 2 tonight, 4 for 14 in the World Series. Dan Quisenberry. Low, ball 1. Well, the Royals, if they lose, will just have to duplicate what took place in the playoffs. They were down 2-0, 2-1, 3-1. And the next thing you know, Toronto was watching on television. 2-0.
What does this appearance tell you about Dan Quisenberry? He was not inserted the other night and is with the Royals 3 runs down. I really don't know what this says about Dick Hauser's use of Dan Quisenberry.
Well, one thing, too, though, is the fact that as a relief pitcher, he has to see some action. If he doesn't use him tonight, he needs to work as much as anything else tonight, I would think.
Well, of course, Steve Farr, if he is the #1 right-hander, has not been in the World Series yet. So if anybody needs work, it's Farr if he is indeed the #1 guy.
I think this answers your question. He's not.
Yep.
Kind of a point that you could take either side, really. I know I'm in a minority, but I think Charlie Leibrandt should have pitched that inning the other night.
And I'll tell you something. I agree with you, totally. And it's real easy to say, oh, what a stupid move that was. Of course it's easy.
Yeah, right.
I agree. I think everybody fully understood why Hauser did what he did. You don't have to agree with it, but the reasoning was out front. Fouled away in the count 3-2. Meanwhile, in the Cardinal bullpen, it's Jeff Lottie who's throwing. To the count. Nobody out. Bottom of the 8th. A looper in the left field, and McGee has it by center. Second of the game. So Willie gets on. 56 steals during the regular season. McGee stole a base last night, and then was thrown out at third when Jack Clark struck out.
Yeah, Quisenberry does not have a good move to first base. You can do a lot of things here, Hit and run, steal. Ozzie Smith, a contact hitter. He struck out one every 26 times up this year. You have a low ball pitcher, so you're going to get a ground ball, and you have speed at first. All the elements are there.
And a running bunt. He's running for a base hit. Quisenberry, though, is able to throw him out with Balboni covering. Ozzie not up there only to sacrifice. He was trying to get aboard himself, but Quisenberry's able to make the play. Dan has become a better fielder, I think, through the years. Landrum a home run in the second inning. McGee hit one in the third to make it 2-0. Nieto with the surprise squeeze with 2 strikes as a visit to the mound is made after the pendulum triple. You can see it there. And this is a visit from Hauser, not Blaylock, with Tommy Herr, the batter, and Jack Clark on deck. Quisenberry handling that bunt very well. Dan, when he first came up, had some trouble fielding his position.
You could just see Dick Hauser say, pitch around him. We'll pitch around him for Jack Clark. Those are the lips that I read.
Well, he'll pitch around him and hope for the double play. If he listens to his manager. Meanwhile, it becomes a case of a lot of people are saying, well, if you're going to pitch around him, why don't you just walk him? But they'll sort of pitch to him as Sundberg settles in back of the plate.
He'll probably go 2-0 to Tommy Herr, trying to get the sinker, trying to get him to nibble at that sinker, and then they'll put him on. How many times do you see that? Tommy Herr, a very experienced hitter. He may go for a sinker away, but the way he's been hitting the ball all year, he doesn't swing at too many bad balls. Look at Sundberg, way outside.
2-0 the count. You thought Palmer had a fan club?
That's a real fan club right there.
They'll walk him intentionally. And that, my friend, was the line of the year. So first and second with 1 out. And Jack Clark is the batter. Jack Clark has struck out 5 of his last 7 trips to the plate. Tonight, he has struck out twice and singled. He has gotten aboard either via a hit or a walk in all 10 postseason games, including tonight. He singled and then was thrown out trying to stretch it to a double. Go back to White with McGee getting back in the bag. So McGee at second and Herr at first.
Of course, this is a percentage move. If you look at Dick Hauser, what he's saying, Quisenberry, left-handers hit over 300 against him. Not only will we walk the left-hander, but we'll pitch to the right-hander. Much more effective against right-handers than he was left-handers in 1985. A lot of people say, why? Seemed like he did not have his good sinker this year. You looked at the 37 saves, and a lot of times that can be a little bit deceiving. Come into ball games with a couple of run lead, come into a game, give up a couple of runs, and still get the save. So a lot of saves, but it's not the Quisenberry of 84 and 83.
Clark pops it in the air in foul territory. No infield fly rule as Balboni runs out of room. It's only an infield fly rule in effect if it's a fair ball, and that one not only foul, but drifting back out of play.
Balboni, during the regular season, may have caught this ball. But, of course, if Kansas City played the Cardinals during the regular season, it would be an exhibition game, right?
Yep. In Fort Myers or St. Petersburg. 0-1 the count.
They have built those photographer boxes out on the playing field, and that's what prevented Valboni from getting to that ball.
Good breaking ball. The count is 0-2.
Throw underhand, most breaking balls go down. This goes up.
Reminds me of Ted Abernathy, who used to pitch in a similar style, and that riding curveball. Good sinker, riding curveball.
One and two. McGee at second. Her at first. One out. Bottom of the 8th inning. 3-0 Cards. Still a ball and 2 strikes.
Talking to Dan in the locker room yesterday, and he said, how did you throw underhand? He said, well, I was a side armor, and Jimmy Fry was managing the ball club in 80, and he was watching me warm up, and I'd throw my fastball, and he'd say, that's as hard as you can throw. And he said, let me see a slider. And he said, that's your slider? So 2 days later, he scheduled a meeting with Kent DeColby, turned him into an underhander.
That's popped up, and Valboni's going to get another shot, and this one is in closer toward the dugout and back out of play. Well back.
That's a great critique. Weaver used to do that. That's it. Let's start Flanagan. Let's start McGregor. So that's all you're going to get, Earl. In fact, I saw Hank Bauer down on the field, who managed the ball club that I played under, won the World Championship in 1966. I remember him going out to a relay pitcher, Dick Hall, who you probably faced. Might even played with. Gave up about 5 or 6 straight hits to Minnesota. He asked him if he ever thought about working on a knuckleball.
1-2 is in the dirt, and that one bounces away from Sundberg, and McGee will think about scoring, and here he comes, and the throw to Quisenberry nails him, and the throw to third is not in time. Wouldn't that have been the most bizarre double play you'd ever see? So McGee thinking home all the way, the ball bounded high, and Willie thought he had a chance, and Sundberg made a tremendous play to get it back to Quisenberry for the out.
Reaches for it with his glove. The ball hits the heel of the glove. Now he can't find it. He turns the wrong way, and he does set himself to throw. Quisenberry makes the tag, and now watch him turn to throw to try to get her. If they would have completed this double play, it would have been scored 2-1-5. I don't think I've ever seen that.
No.
Very close at third.
So it's a wild pitch that nets 1 base for McGee and 2 bases for her. 2 out and a man at third now, and the count 2-2 on Clark. So her at third. 3-0 Cardinals in the 8th. In the 9th inning, the Royals have White, Sundberg, and Motley. And Clark fouls it straight back.
He does not get cheated on that fastball, or that sinker.
Clark hit 22 homers this season, and remember, he missed the better part of the last 6 weeks, protecting his left shin. You hit 22, you miss 6 weeks, and you play in this ballpark. That's a guy who's going to hit about 35 to 40 if he plays for Boston or the Cubs. Inside, 3-2, and Clark has that kind of power. Clark this season, 8 homers here and 14 away. Pitchers away. First and third. And Tito Landrum is coming to the plate. The new main man of the Mound City, Tito Landrum.
just another part of the puzzle. You talked, Tim, opening night about their balance. Here's a guy that was second leading pinch hitter in the National League, hitting .391. Good defensive outfielder. Can play against left-handed pitching. Can play against right-handed pitching, too.
With that in mind, Whitey Herzog may turn Landrum loose. Guy points that bat. Johnny Lewis, the hitting instructor. It's kind of a timing device where he points that bat at the pitcher, and when the pitcher starts into his movement and into his motion home, then he brings the bat back.
Chopper hit to White, and he throws Landrum out, and so Quisenberry shuts the door. Ninth inning coming up. Reggie Jackson, I've already given you the chance to make 2 predictions. What do you think right now?
Well, obviously this man is a closer, so obviously I'm going to predict the obvious. Fellow's going to come up here with a shutout. You know, as a player, there really aren't any secrets, Al. You see a guy like a John Tudor and my colleague here in the booth, a Jim Palmer. Once in a while during a ball game, you'll see them have a problem. They'll get men on base. They may, you know, get outside the strike zone and walk a guy or two. This is what happened to John Tudor in the 7th inning when he had the bases loaded and he wound up getting McRae on the ground ball to third base. Sometimes they wiggle out of it, and when they do that, you can call Katie. You've got to get them when they're on the ropes. And if they happen to spit that hook out and you've got a chance to pull them out of the water, you can call the lady I just talked about, Katie, and you know what she does. She bars the door.
Well, Tudor seeking a shutout victory, 3-1 Cardinal lead. Starts Frank White off with a strike, and the count is 0-1. White, Sunbird, and Motley. Tudor has been out of the universe in this park this year. One hopper to John, throws him out. One away. Tudor lost his first 2 games in this park in '85. Came back on his last 14 decisions in this park during the regular season. Won a game in the playoffs and is on the verge of winning for the 16th consecutive time in this park tonight. I told you the other night we had a graphic that said 2+ runs, and that was wiped out by the Cardinal rally. Now it's 3+.
Well, we've talked about John Tudor all night. We've talked about the 21 out of 22 decisions, the 1.93 ERA, the 10 shutouts. But the most amazing thing is that from the 8th inning on, when the pitcher is most tired, when the batters are most likely to get to him, he has a .089 ERA.
Popped up. Appears to be playable for Clark. He took a pass. The railing and makes the gap. And Motley is the batter, and 54,000 are on their feet.
by striking out 17 Detroit Tigers.
Cardinals lead the World Series 3-1. As you look at the numbers, the PA system blares the heat is on. It's on the Royals. They're down 3-1 thanks to John Tudor and Tito Landrum. Let's go to Reggie Jackson.
Thank you very much, Al. Here are the stars of the game. Mr. Tito Landrum, who I could call or dub super sub, a man with a good luck charm. It just never seems to stop with him. And of course, John Tudor, another super effort by you. 10 shutouts, 11 shutouts now, one in the postseason. John, what has made the difference with you since you've come to the National League?
I think the biggest thing, Reg, has been this ball club. Just the whole attitude of the club and the defense, as well as this ballpark, has made a tremendous difference in my whole outlook on the ball game. And I just go after hitters and let these guys play.
Tito, I don't know whether you've got some kind of magic wand or something, but you sure seem to always be in the right place at the right time.
Well, I've been very fortunate throughout my career, Reggie. It took me a little while to get up here to the major leagues. Once I got up here, they had some patience with me. The patience has paid off both for myself and for the ball club, thank goodness.
John, I had mentioned upstairs that you had a little problem in the 7th inning. A guy like you gets on the ropes when he's having the kind of year you're having, when you're in total command. You've got to go after him. When I see a Catfish Hunter or a Jim Palmer or a Valenzuela start to wander a little bit, you got to go after him. What did you do to get back on the beam?
I was pitching around Balboni until I saw McRae taking his jacket off. Then I tried to get back into the ball game with Balboni, hoping I didn't get Hal up there. But luckily, I got him swinging a bad ball, and he hit grounded the ball out. And that's what I had to do, is just try and go after him, try and make him not hurt me.
You've got to be aware of how Hal McRae hits you. What were your thoughts when you saw him on deck?
I wasn't real happy, I'll tell you. I just had to go after him and hope things worked out.
Tito, tell me about the home run.
Well, you know, Reggie, all year long it seems that I've been able to hit with 2 strikes. That's been a big difference for me. I've been able to have confidence in myself ever since 1983 when I was put in for Dan Ford, and that's all a ball player wants, is to be able to play, gain confidence, and that confidence seems to swell within one, and you never know what's going to happen. You got to swing the baseball bat, as you well know.
A fantastic ball game. Congratulations to you, Johnny. I'd like to have you in my ball club. That would assure me to get me back into the World Series, Tito. Congratulations to you. Let's go back to Al Michaels.
Okay, thank you, Reggie. So the Cardinals win it by a score of 3-0, one victory away from the World Championship. We'll be back. Looking at the scoring summary, Landrum and McGee home runs in the 2nd and 3rd. And then Nieto with a surprise suicide squeeze made it 3-0. That's the way it wound up. If the Royals want to sleep better tonight, at least they can think about the fact Danny Jackson goes to the mound tomorrow, and he's pitched brilliantly in postseason play, and he's pitching against a man who has been a spot starter for St. Louis. So the pitching edge should be in Kansas City's favor tomorrow. A reminder, ABC News Nightline immediately following your late local news, and we'll return to Busch Stadium in St. Louis right after this message. So there's your final score, 3-0. St. Louis wins it. Al Michaels along with Jim Palmer, Tim McCarver, Reggie Jackson saying so long from Busch Stadium, with a reminder to join us tomorrow night at 8 Eastern time.